Let's have a little fun. For the next 30 minutes, we're going to talk about all of the stuff we've been talking about from the last 2 days from a board perspective. So how are leading board members, leading boards themselves sort of thinking about all of this, managing risk while pushing their management teams forward to drive innovation and take advantage of this technology and just really take a different take on the whole thing. So I'm excited to be here. As was mentioned by Todd, I'm Chad Seiler. I'm in our TMT practice at KPMG. That just puts me in the middle of a lot of clients in the tech, media, and telco sector that are not only using AI, but creating AI, so it's pretty exciting. And I also serve on the board of KPMG. So let's go down the line here and do some quick introductions. Carine, maybe starting with you, and we'll go down the line.
Good morning, I'm Carine Clark. I'm the CEO of First Colony Mortgage, one of the fastest growing mortgage banks in the US. We did $30 billion last year. I serve on 3 public company boards. I'm the chairman of the board for Domo. I'm on a bank board, Nelnet Bank. I'm on a fintech board, MX. In my spare time, I'm the chairman of the Governor's Office of Economic Development, and I also serve on the Olympic Steering Committee and the People and Compensation Committee for the Olympics.
Thanks for coming.
So come back in 2034.
Yeah.
Come back in 2034.
Come back in 2034.
Good. I'm Tami Erwin. I spent 35 years at Verizon, did just about every job you could do. The last one is the CEO of Verizon Business. I now manage a portfolio of boards, 3 public boards, Xerox, John Deere, and F5. F5 had a great earnings day yesterday, if you haven't watched. And then 2 private boards that are really interesting as we think about satellite. And both of those are satellite related. One is government contracts and one is consumer. So building out that layer cake of communications.
Thanks. I'm Chris Fralic, and I'm a board partner at FirstRound Capital. We're a seed stage technology investor. I spent the first 20 years of my career operating in the tech companies and the startup world, in the last almost 20 years investing in them. I've been on 1 public company board. I'm on several nonprofit boards, but my real expertise has been with private companies, generally at the 2 founders and a PowerPoint deck stage, and have watched many of them do well. Half of them have failed. So I, as a board member, and the companies themselves failed, but many of them did very well. And this morning I woke up early because the most notable company I work with is called Roblox. And today they had a killer earnings, and the stock is bumped about 20% today. Awesome. And when we invested, there were 8 people in the company. The board consisted of the founder, his brother, his father, an investor who was a car dealer. It was kind of a ragtag 8-person company. It's now almost a $100 billion company, and the founder, Dave, is a multi-time billionaire. Like, that is the American success story, seeing something go from, almost unrecognizable 17 years ago to that kind of a company today. We need more of them.
I think my daughter contributed to that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Toby. I have a very unusual background. As you probably can tell by looking at me, I am originally Mexican, British military biological parents, Spanish, French adopted parents, whole weird career doing big tech transformation, innovation strategy, and running parts of the business at the same time. I think I've done 12 boards, 14, depending how you count them. My favorite was exec chair of a cancer charity doing a turnaround there. My least favorite was my 1 public board, which was it was a British company, and it was what do the British call it? A bun fight. It was just a disaster. And I essentially got fired off of that board for good reason. For good reason that I did the fight. Yeah, I had them acquired. They were going to get acquired for X, and they were like, no. And then they got acquired for 1/4 of X, so screw them. As an employee, advisor, executive in residence, chair, exec chair, board member, I've done 47 startups starting in the 80s, because I'm way older than I look. And I'm happy to be here. Great event. Well done. Where's Richard? They're pulling in really, really interesting people, and good to see some old friends. Tammi is my ex-boss, by the way. Super boss, really super boss.
Excellent. Well, thanks to all of you for joining us today. We love to hear the perspectives here. Let's just jump right in. Carine, maybe start with you. In all of this that's going on, all this AI and advanced technology and the speed at which it's moving, the disruption that's happening out there, I mean, my perspective is it couldn't be more exciting to be a board member right now. And there's so much to think about and so much to be on top of. What's top of mind for you as a board member right now related to all of that?
Well, I have a variety of boards, Tammy's same, and each of my companies are in different stages of progress and success. And so I'm trying to make sure that AI doesn't become a distraction for some of my teams that are just barely keeping it together. But also making sure, do we have the right CEOs? Do we have the right executive team? Do we have the right board members? And usually the answer is probably going to be no. Mm-hmm. And so, like I'm trying to deal with what I have and what I need to get these teams to be open to, and some of them actually surprised me, but it's terrifying too, exciting and terrifying.
Tammi, what's top of mind for you?
Three things I would add to that. Number one is I worry a lot about people. Do I have the right peers on the board? I chair governance for two of my boards, and making sure we have the right people in the boardroom who are curious and understand and are listening and learning to all the things that we spent time on over the last 3 days. Do we have the right people on the management team? Very hard to secure the talent you need right now. So what kind of acqui-hires can you do? How do you secure talent? And then are we challenging our team to dream big? One of the comments I heard yesterday was 10 times faster for 10% of the cost. And that's the challenge in the boardroom right now, because incrementalism is not an option. And helping management teams see their way while they deliver today and dream for tomorrow, I think is one of the biggest challenges that we have.
Agreed. Chris?
The thing I think about a lot with boards today is the topic we've had the whole conference here, which is, how do you push AI and give it an opportunity to take hold, and how do you do it at the leadership and the board level? And also, like, how can board members themselves and leadership themselves use it? I'll give an example. My partner, Josh, at FirstRound, open sourced a prompt he uses for his private company boards. And it's essentially, he'll upload 2 PowerPoint decks, and he'll say, this is last quarter's deck. One of these is the last quarter's deck. One is the new deck. What were the projections last time versus what did they do this time? What did they talk about in the last board meeting that they're not talking about now? What questions should I ask? Like, it's a really helpful way to get your arms around something like that. And I was talking to a partner here from KPMG about what they do with AI in their public company. He said, well, with our CEO, we take the draft earnings release, we load it into an AI system, and we say, what analyst questions should we expect from this? And it's been remarkably good. So I love real world examples of how you could bring that to life.
Those are awesome examples, by the way. No 1,000 pages of reading.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was going to do those exact same examples, so I get nothing. No, so I think I've spoken to 600 board members in the last couple of years, starting with Fourth Industrial Revolution came out of Davos. What are we going to do? And then the whole Gen AI thing, mostly through the NACD, who gave me an award for that, which is probably because I didn't charge anybody for it. But what I find in talking to these board members is it's sort of a trap, right? They either go, yeah, okay, now I've got the talk, I kind of understand it, let's get back to what we're doing because we're really good at what we're doing, we have a great team. Or they get really excited about it and say, we've got to do something about that. And then they miss the bigger picture. The bigger picture is really 3 things. You have to have a strategy refresh moment, right? You have to look at the strategy of your company and say, okay, if the enemy is out there building a new company to do what we do today, what would they do with all of this new stuff, right? Because if you look back through history, it's those companies that kill companies in creative destruction cycles. And nobody in a creative destruction cycle goes, I'm probably on the destruction side of that, right? They're always, no, we're great. The other thing is, I think the last survey is 72% of CEOs said their CIOs basically suck. and their IT shop is bad. There is no chance of you being good at this new stuff if you suck at IT. And oh, by the way, your old school AI is really, really important and needs to play with this new one. If I look at people's supply chain or financial planning or asset management or CRM or their product marketing side, their AI is generally really bad, right? It's just not well integrated, not well thought through, not supported. I did the IT strategy for a giant company I can't mention that's in Bentonville. It starts with a W, and even that really rich, smart company, and they were smart enough to go, hey, let's go fix this. But their AI was all over the place. Right now, they're doing really well, some really, really smart things on Gen AI. But this holistic strategy refresh moment, I think, is hugely important. A long history of companies, Rockefeller, Sears, Workday, looking at an existing place and going, okay, what do I do with new tech to kill those guys and take their market share?
I thought you had nothing to say. There was nothing left to say.
I've been drinking coffee since 5 a.m. So,
Carine, you've got companies at different spectrums of adoption. You've got people that are adopting fast and going aggressive, which is awesome. You've got fast followers right behind them. They're kind of monitoring what's happening, but still trying to move quickly. You've got people on the sideline. Some very large companies have said they want to remain on the sideline intentionally to see how this plays out. But you've got one company in particular that's moving really, really quickly. Talk about that and how are you managing that and looking after that from a board perspective?
So the company he's referring to, we had a board meeting in December in New York, and I try to make sure we're focused on solving a future problem, not just rear view. And the executive team said, hey, we really want to show you something. So they made this 3-hour AI presentation of products that they actually already built. And the board was just verklempt. Like, we just looked around, and the CEO turns to me and says, I thought y'all would have been excited about this. We were so blown away because what the team did is they decided that they would disrupt themselves, but I think they wanted to do it in a safe environment without us touching what they were doing. And so they've probably catapulted themselves at least a year and a half, but their stock price has doubled since then. And is it because of that? Who knows? But the energy from that team and how brave they are and how they're not afraid to make mistakes and take risks, super proud of that organization and stunned. I mean, the entire board was like, and then that's when I realized we may not be the board for this company in the future.
Interesting. Tammi, what are you seeing across your portfolio of companies you participate with in terms of moving fast, moving slow? And how are you thinking about that from a board perspective?
Yeah. Let me take it maybe a little different angle because I think your example of risk-taking and asking the question of, are you the right board for that company is a really relevant experience. One of the things that I'm seeing is a lot of that show and tell. Let me show you what we did. And the secondary question is always then, how will you make money with that? Because I think there is a lot of show and tell happening in the boardroom as people are trying to say, here's what I can do for my customers, here's how I can take cost out. And so it is the validation of what can you do from a commercial model. Okay, what are you committing in terms of efficiency or productivity? What are you committing to in terms of new revenue? And where's your competitor in that landscape? But the other one that we're spending a lot of time with is, do we have the right CEO to lead us, not just today, but to the future and where the puck is going? And I think that's a lot of conversation that's happening in the boardroom right now. It is the conversation of, do we have the right board? But it's also the conversation of, do we have the CEO that can go the future, imagine the possibility, command the team to come with them, inspire the team, because we've spent a lot of time here over the last couple of days talking about technology, but technology is nothing without people. And so this question of what is the leadership and how do you really inspire and challenge and get people to where they need to go is where we're spending a lot of time.
So do you think that you would actually go and fire the CEO? Does the board have the?
We fired and rehired a CEO with the new set of expectations. We said, this leader you've been is not the leader that we need for the future. And it wasn't because he wasn't incredibly qualified, but it was a mirror to his face that said, are you prepared to be the leader of tomorrow? And those conversations, and by the way, he went and spent a month and thought about it, because the challenge ahead is different than the challenge that people have been through. And so it is making sure people are bought on in and signed up for what's coming.
Yeah.
And that they're prepared. Because it oftentimes means they have to turn their team. And it's hard to turn a team that you've been through battle with.
Yeah.
I mean, think about what CEOs have been through the last year with COVID and with the macroeconomic and the geopolitical and all the things that we're living with. Now to say, you maybe need a new team for the next 5 years is hard to do.
Just thinking about boards at different stages and companies at the earliest stage is very different than when it's an ongoing kind of self-fulfilling entity. And when we invest, it's generally, our mindset is the purpose of a seed stage investment is to help the entrepreneur prove or disprove their hypothesis, or to sufficiently de-risk it to get the next round of funding. And generally, they've got about 18 to 24 months of cash to prove something and be able to get that next round of funding. And so it's much more existential. You're always talking about what's the runway, how many more months do we have? And then at the next stage, assuming they get to that, Series A or B, a thing that I found often is how can the board help the company not play to not lose, but play to win? What are the bets you could make? What if, a question often asked, a leader, like, if you had a magic wand, what would you do with it? And what would you want to do that you can't do right now? And try and come up with ways to help them achieve that, and thinking about, like you said, like what goes right, what can go right, how can we do that? The other thing that you mentioned, is I don't think enough boards think enough about the nominating and governance side and pipelines of great new board members. And how are you thinking of finding someone better than yourself to replace you? That mindset is kind of rare, and it's really good to see.
And do you have the courage to take somebody out that no longer
yes.
is relevant for today?
And it's hard to remove a board member that feels like this is the only board I'm ever going to be on,
Yeah.
and they pay me.
Yeah. Right.
So I've had to augment the fact that that's part of reality with finding advisors that may not have board experience. My son is in a tech company, he's 31. He'd be a terrible board member, but he has built our own ChatGPT Broggy in our basement. He's a fantastic advisor. Yeah. And he'll do it for free, even though I said, look, we'll pay you something. He's like, just pay for my server, right? He's, these kids are smarter than we were, and board members who have great experience, we need access to these young people who have completely displaced the data science team.
You want to surround yourself with people that are thinking differently than you're thinking. Can I just add one thing to this? Playing to win versus playing not to lose is a really important mindset, and I'm glad you raised it, because I think there are people that are saying, if I just wait, maybe this will be easier than I think, versus I got to skate to where the puck is going. So,
the HR department. That's one of your big problems. Tammy's brilliant point. I've done that a couple of times, where the game really changed. Did the part of the big turnaround at Motorola, turning it from an internally focused incremental engineering company to a cool brand with a really forward-looking consumer electronics thing. And I had to fire people who were top 5% performers for a decade. And these were general patent command and control guys, and we were moving to a matrixed global engagement model. And I said, look, you're a fantastic rugby player. The game's turning to cricket. Yeah, I suck at cricket. I don't even understand cricket. I can't do cricket. So you've got to go work at another company. but I'm a top 5% performer for 10 years. And you go, yeah, but rugby, cricket, yeah, but I'm a top, and then you fire them, and then HR knocks on your door and go, what are you doing, right? And so to be able to do that you have to have support from the board on down. The other two big things for boards, which I find they miss, is if you look at this from a distance, the big conclusion is your company needs to be really agile. This technology is moving really fast. It's changing how customers look at brand and trust, and authenticity is changing. So maybe your only sustainable competitive advantage is to be good at this tech stuff, but also be very agile. And that means looking at your processes across the company and digging into that. And when you dig into that at most companies, it's a bowl of spaghetti, right? Decision cycle times are bad, decision rights are bad. So being intentional and purposeful about we are going to be the most agile in this space. Because in times like this, there's a lot of train wrecks where wave one innovation looks great and companies do really well. Then companies look at those and go, okay, technology's moved a little bit further forward, how do we beat that? And wave two kills wave one. If you look at BYD in China and you look at Tesla looks like a wave one architecture, wave one technology, and BYD looks like two. Now, Tesla may survive because there could be lots of protectionism in the U.S. market, but they'll survive as that, not as the other thing, unless they have a fundamental architectural shift.
Carine, how are you balancing the company's need to deliver short-term financial results and focusing on that versus the need for medium and longer-term strategic things that they need to do to take advantage of the AI opportunity?
And some of my companies is pretty tough because it really is Maslow's hierarchy of needs for the company. Like if I'm talking to a CEO who's just trying to keep it together between his partners and his customers and doesn't want to burn through too much cash because they've had to be very careful with their cash. COVID caused this whole problem. They were going to go public. They're not going to go public. It's just like, I have to really pay attention I have to know my audience, right? And so it has to be the right time when I have conversations. I spend a lot of time with the chief technology officers. I spend a lot of time with the people that are already thinking about it and already doing it. But I'm also super sensitive. If I show up at a meeting and they're barely keeping it together, I'm like, hey, but what about our strategy for AI and how are we going to displace this and that? And so I'm very sensitive and aware to the reality of it's really hard to be a founder CEO trying to keep it together. You don't want to get replaced. You don't want to get displaced, but you also, I don't want them to lose their company. But there are things that we can do with people that are thinking about it inside the organization. The harder part for me is when I have a CEO that blocks any AI from the organization because they're afraid, right? I'm in a highly regulated space in banking. And they're like, we're not going to trust it. We're going to wait and see. I'm like, you're going to be dead. Like, you're not going to make it. You're not going to make it. And it's reflecting in their business now because they're struggling to keep up and they have all these other problems. So convincing them that the problems that you have now are not going to even compare to the problems you're going to have if you don't stop, drop, and roll on this.
Are you recording all this, by the way, on the glasses?
Is it on?
I don't know.
You would know if it's on.
I have no idea.
No, but I took some pictures of my friends.
Cool.
Can I comment on the recording side a little bit
yeah.
as board members? And I've asked a few partners here. Let me ask by hand. Have you been in a board meeting where there's an AI agent recording everything and taking notes?
We don't allow it.
Same.
So I find many companies do that. I find that frightening and shocking. Or if you're doing it, you should be doing it purposefully and that you really want it to happen because why do board minutes seem so watered down and generic? You don't want any of that
By
info.
design.
They're going to show up in
If
court.
every single word you said is discoverable.
Right.
Sam Altman said it last week. If you're trusting me with your personal data, if someone comes to me with the right subpoena or piece of paper, I'm going to hand them everything that they asked for. So I think that's something that maybe KPMG should have a point of view on with your companies.
We do.
We do.
Laura created the point of view. So.
I start every meeting with, hi, I'm Richard Entrup.
Tammi, on the board of John Deere.
Yeah.
Tell us, like, what's happening in the boardroom there, if you're willing and able to share about AI for that company in particular, just out of curiosity.
Yeah. So I joined the John Deere board 5 years ago, and it has been such a fabulous ride. First of all, it's a brand that everybody loves. Secondly, it feeds the world. And as you begin to look at kind of the Russia-Ukraine situation and kind of it increases the importance of what we do.
Yeah.
But the John Deere team is, you think about John Deere and you think manufacturing and hardware, but they are a software business. And when we introduced John May, who is our CEO, is spectacular. He grew up in the business. He took on the CEO role about the time I joined the board. So it's also been fun to watch him grow into that role. But they looked forward and said, how can we anticipate what our customer will need? And the farmer of today is not the farmer of yesterday. And what assets will they need to be able to farm differently in a corporate environment? And data is their friend. And today, if you are driving a John Deere piece of equipment, you know where a seed was planted. You know whether that seed needs to be fertilized, whether you need to put poison on that. You know how low the blades need to be, how often. All because of big data. By the way, every tractor is connected with satellite, so you know where they are. Why is that important? Because guess how hard it is to find labor. We need autonomous vehicles. We need electrification. And so the thing I would give the John Deere team incredible credit for is they're always anticipating what their customer requires. So they're not using tech for the purpose of tech, they're using tech for the purpose of serving their customer. One other thing that I think is also spectacular is the way they've managed their factories. So when I was at Verizon and we were building 5G, I was a little disgruntled by the fact that John Deere was building their own 5G. They bid for spectrum, built their own 5G in the factories. Today, I think is fascinating and fabulous because they've adopted front of house and back of house technology that allows them to go faster on behalf of the mission of who they serve. One other thing that I think has been important for them is they have completely restructured the organization to say, how do we put our systems team right in the middle between the business units so each business unit is not out driving their own system architecture. You know, Toby, you talked about how popular is the CIO, the CTO. If you set them in the middle, they serve the business units, and the business units serve the customers. And they are a model company for how you do that. You know, big data wins all day, every day. I talked to the CTO the other day, and I said, hey, I want to talk a little bit about what we're doing with AI. And he said, before we do that, let's talk about where we are with data and how we manage data, because garbage in, garbage out on LLMs. And so they're a spectacular company. By the way, when I started 5 years ago, their stock was at about 150. I think today it's trading about 510, 515. Awesome. And so the market is rewarding them for that.
Fantastic. Sounds like you're having a lot of fun.
I'm having a lot of fun, yes. And I'm chairing governance now, and I think back, to your comment of, do you have the right people on the board? Do you have people that can imagine and follow to where we're going? Do you have ag experts? Do you have tech experts? And how do you check your egos at the door when you walk in and serve the management team? So
we've got some board members in the room. We also have a lot of people in this room that want to be a board member in the future one day. So as we close out here, maybe Toby, we'll start with you. To be a leading board or board member in the future, you must what? Complete that sentence.
I honestly think you really need to dig in and understand this technology. And the good news is it's really not conceptually that difficult, right? But the trick with it being conceptually not difficult is it's not like, well, it's like rugby or running a commercial kitchen. You can't get good at either one of those by watching it, right? You can watch a million cooking shows and I put you in a commercial kitchen and it'll be a disaster. Or out on the rugby field, you have to get your hands on it and play with it and have deep context. Alan Kay, one of the world's best ever engineers out of Xerox parts, said, context adds 80 IQ points. So you can't just be a smart person and show up on a board. You've got to have current modern context is what I would say.
Excellent. Chris, advice for the room?
Yeah, I think taking this conference and how much emphasis has been on AI has been impressive to me, and I think it's probably the right proportion. But I also think we have no idea where this is going. If you think back, it was 32 months ago that ChatGPT as we know it today was released. We've all seemed to have forgotten a memory hold that 28 months ago, Elon Musk and 30,000 experts signed a petition to stop all big AI development because they were fearful it was going to take over the world. And then we forgot about it and we rocketed it off. But I've been in tech since I had punch cards in college in 1980 and the PC and everything. This is as big as all of them put together, but I think we have no idea where it's going, but we're paying the right amount of attention to it.
Tammy?
Yeah, Gina Raimondo said something that really struck me, and that was, this is the time for experimentation versus perfection. And I think businesses want to be perfect. Boards want to make a perfect decision. Experimentation has to happen. But being a curious learner, being a listener, challenging the status quo, taking responsibility to show up relevant in the boardroom, you do have to use it to be able to guide it. And then most of all, don't forget about people and leadership in the process.
Carine, final word.
Wow. Never get the final word.
Better be really good.
I agree with all my colleagues. You have to be a student, and you have to just be like you're gasping for information, and find people that can help you differentiate yourself, but to help you learn. So I work with 4 universities. I spend time with the entrepreneurs. I spend time with the computer science kids. I will have lunch with them. I invite them to my shop. I spend as much time as I can, and I ask questions, and they teach me. And I have 2 bright sons who mine for crypto, and it's insane, and I learn from them, because as a board member, you need to be able to add value, and it needs to be differentiated value, not what everybody else has.
Love it. Big round of applause for this